Thank you for tuning in to the World Builders Anvil, episode 324. Just relax, it's only a pandemic.
Chillax, don't do it.
Because we want you to get through it.
Don't know where to start building your fantasy world?
Do you need more? Does it make sense?
Forget any worries and become a crafter of imagination.
This is the place where we will prime your mind.
Now, it's time to heat up the forge.
Break out the mithril ingots and hammer.
Welcome to the World Builders Anvil. I'm Jeffrey W. Ingram.
And I'm Michael Miller.
Let's sup from the muck of Java and build. Welcome back. As always, I am Drop Dead Jeff. That was a Drop Dead Fred, I think, right?
Yeah. Right said Fred.
Yes, something else.
There is a Drop Dead Fred. There is a Drop Dead Fred. That was a movie. The Right Said Fred was a singer.
That's right, yeah.
He was
all
the
same
sexy guy. Yeah.
A's are a blur. It's all the cocaine old people did back then.
And still alive, I am Michael Miller.
All right, everyone. Welcome back. We hope you're good. For us, this is, I have no idea what day or time.
I don't know. We're like a month deep in the bunker.
April 17th, 2 days after tax day, the most chilled April 15th at my household ever.
Really?
My wife is a CPA.
Amazing.
So, my wife's a CPA, so April 15th is usually.
I know. Yeah. But they've pushed the date, so that.
All of the dates, including like if people have to do estimate payments, it's all pushed back, at least in Connecticut. I don't know about every state, but the feds in Connecticut have definitely pushed it all back to July 15th. Now, don't get me wrong, she gets 10,000 people contacting her a day about the federal stimulus, but that is a total cluster that we will not go into here.
I'll tell you what, I already got mine.
Well, you got the stimulus, the small business stuff. That is a huge cluster.
Yeah, my company's actually applying for that, so I've been getting whispers of it. Yeah,
if they've not gotten it yet,
probably not.
Yeah, they ran out of money yesterday already, and from what I heard, $3.5 trillion has been requested.
Wow!
And they might put another 250 million in or billion. So the problem is there are 30 million people who are a small business. If you go by the tax term of Schedule C, and then there's actually other types of small business that are the really small businesses as well that don't even have a Schedule C. And so there are like other, I guess, taxi types of forms that they can do. Our professional is not here, but so I mean, you're talking about like millions of businesses, and not very much money if you divide it the two.
Yeah. Pardon me. In other news, I want to shout out another show, and it's kind of on topic since we're going to be talking about, ways to keep yourself busy and occupied during the pandemic, because you can't go out and go run around and do things. I mean, you kind of can, but you kind of can't, sort of thing. So there's this great other podcast called 8-Bit Bros. That's the number 8-Bit, B-I-T, Bros, B-R-O-S. And so you've got Ren and Thump and Webboy. Webboy is actually a friend of mine, but only through digital escapism, because we play Destiny together. We've been playing video games together for years, and it was only a little while ago, and by that I mean like a year or so, that he had said, "Oh yeah, I have a podcast." I was like, "You have a podcast?" I'm like, "I have a podcast." I'm like, "How have we never talked about this before?" Yeah. So they talk about beer, sports, current events, and video games. So good group of guys. And last night, I don't even know how we ended up, like they were on, or you know what it was? I got on Facebook, and they were on Facebook Live, and I had just missed them. Like they were like, "Okay, we're leaving now," just as I was getting on, and I saw that they were live. So I was like, "Oh my gosh, dude, I'm up." And it was really, really late. I was like, "Do you want to record a show right now?" And they're like, "Yeah." Ren wasn't around, so it was just Thump and Webboy and myself. So I assume that they will publish that episode. I don't know for sure if they will, because it was very impromptu. But I had a great time, so I want to thank them. And you guys should check out the show. They're great.
Yeah. So if nothing else, they got a free promo from it. So
at the very least.
I'm sure it was a fun episode.
It was super fun. Yeah.
So podcast is one of them. And in general, the reason I want to go into this topic is we all the time talk about ways to relax on the show, obviously. But one of the things is, I've started to notice, as we're here in mid-April, some people are going stir crazy. Especially, I don't know about every state, but Connecticut is locked down fairly hard. Michael does not have that because he's too essential to the state to be able to
I am too essential.
Too essential. Me, I'm worthless to the state. So they actually have snipers outside of my house to make sure I don't leave. It's quite a safe thing to do.
Leave the house?
Stay home right now.
Oh, stay home. I was going to say, aren't you saying that backwards?
So for me, it's very safe. I'm not allowed to leave. But, the thing is, and because of that, you might be there with like a roommate or your spouse and your kids who you're not necessarily used to being around like 24 hours a day because you work. So for a lot of people,
or they go to school.
So for a lot of people, it's like this is a completely new normal, so for that purpose, I just kind of want to do an episode where a little lighthearted, just talking a bit about just some things that I've done differently. I've relaxed differently because of the pandemic. Even though, to be honest, I work at home and our kid's a toddler. We don't do daycare. So it's not really that different for us, except, once again, some of the things we had, people come in, help watch them a couple days of the week. Grandma would come over. Can't do that right now. And there are a lot of things that we, there are differences, it's like we like to typically go out and explore and eat out on Saturdays. We can't do that anymore. So we do music class with our little guy on Saturday. Can't do that anymore. At least not the way we used to. So just come up with some different things, like sort of fun things, like the whole family can do. And then just sort of like things that I'm doing differently now that I wasn't doing just a few months ago. At this point, my God, months ago.
I know. Wow. It's weird.
Yeah.
The irony is that my day to day has not changed a great deal, other than, how I approach the world. And that's basically everyone has to approach the world a little differently if you're out in public. I'm sanitizing 1,000 times a day. We're washing hands, social distancing, all that.
For relaxing purposes, I guess you learn to meditate while washing your hands.
Well, it's funny though, because like the relaxing thing's important because I had my days. I kind of had to find my zen with the current scenario. Generally, I tend to be. I like to think of myself as a laid back person. But this got to me more than I expected it to. So for a little while there, I was, very reactionary, and I still catch myself here and there, mostly if people approach me and they're not respecting my space. It is usually, and I have like a bad reaction to it, which it bothers me that my reaction has been a little more drastic than I expected. It basically said, you know what, you are not as relaxed in this scenario as you'd like to think.
As 19-year-old Michael or Jeffrey would have been much more relaxed, I'm sure, than
probably not. I think I would have been a lot more tense about it. I was very I was very wound up when I was younger, a lot more so.
Well, maybe it was a soldier in me. I would have been like, whatever. Now it's like people could get sick and get hurt. That's bad.
So you've got a whole bunch of things listed here. Do you want to just go through them, or I kind of want to do this more conversationally? I want to talk about what you've specifically been doing.
Okay.
And then we'll go down the list and hit the ones that you haven't been doing, and I want to cover the ones that I've been doing.
Okay. All right.
So what have you been doing?
So for the first one, I've started, and I really just did this once at the time of recording this, but I'm going to do a lot more of it. Live streaming myself in Facebook, world building, just screwing around with 2 new pieces of software that I have.
I don't even think I've noticed you doing this.
I just did it like once in the Undercroft group. I'm probably going to do it in the page ultimately, but I just wanted, the first time I did it, it didn't work out very well. The bandwidth is very erratic during this time, so it makes it a little bit more weird. And I think my computer had too many things open on it. So the software, one of them is a WonderDraft. It's a mapping software. Looks pretty easy to do. It's relatively new, but it's very easy to actually do some like quick world building. And if you want some pretty good looking maps pretty quickly, I've had a little fun doing it so far. And another one is called Vulgar.
Ooh, I do like the name.
Right up our alley. Yeah. It's actually, it's a Golang generator.
So what generating?
Language generator.
A language generator.
Yeah, so essentially, if you're interested in designing languages, but you either aren't a linguist, I wish I had this before I developed my first language. You can actually use this, and with a little smarts, you can actually generate your own language. And it'll actually, what it does is it has a catalog of words that it will actually create those words for you, and it'll help with some basic grammar stuff and how things are actually, you can literally pronounce the languages that come out of the thing. So it'll help you get to a pretty high-end language with a low level of skill relatively quickly. In my live streams, I'll show people how I cheat at doing this because like I was never taught phonics, so I'm really bad with the phonetic side of things. Mm-hmm. As you can hear if you've ever listened to me, which if you're listening to the show, you probably have.
You've mentioned it a bunch of times before, but it's never been something that I would have keyed in on had you not ever mentioned it.
Yeah. Because I have a pretty giant vocabulary, but sometimes people don't understand me because I say words wrong. It's really funny. And so I usually blame it on Indiana. Most people believe that. So sorry, Indiana. As actually I learned it in Ohio, so it's not even Indiana's fault at all. Now,
or Ohio.
Next time, my wife and I started playing Elder Scrolls Online. I haven't really played an MMO in a really long time. Mm-hmm. But this one looked interesting. We tried it in beta and did not like it. So several years ago, I don't know, like probably 2015, I think is when it came out. We were in the original beta for it, and it just didn't feel like playing an Elder Scrolls game. And I like playing Elder Scrolls games, so it's sort of an oddity. But I guess they made lots of fixes since then. We actually both logged in, and it felt like playing an Elder Scrolls game. You could go pick plants, pick little bugs out of the air, get in fights. And it felt like fighting in an Elder Scrolls game. It wasn't your traditional tab MMO. It was
real time.
Essentially, it was an action combat system. So we screw around. We don't really have a lot of time for it because our business is not shut down. And it's actually, this causes us a lot more work because a lot of our clients are struggling in these times. So we're trying to make them struggle less. That's our job. But so we're actually going forward. I actually created a World Builders Anvil guild because you only need like one person to do a guild. So I created a guild. I made my wife join. So we have 2 people so far. Woohoo! So if you're playing in the North American servers at Elder Scrolls Online, it's a free-to-play MMO. I have no affiliate with it or anything, but just go ahead, join in. Message me at Gardul World. It's GARDUL World, and I will approve you in if you're over 18. There will be one question, and the password is Mike. Just respond Mike. Just contact me and say Mike. I'll invite you. I think you can set up an application system.
MIC Mike or MIKE Mike?
MIKE Mike. Because how else would you spell Mike?
What's the question, Jeff?
I don't know. I don't know if I can actually even create a question.
You just said there's a question. The answer is Mike.
I said if you tell me Mike, I will just let you in blindly.
I got you.
So you can message me, Mike. I'm going to try to set up an application for it in the game, and in there, if I can put a question, the only answer will be Mike, and it'll probably be who's the best host on the show. Will be Mike.
I don't think you're going to do that.
I would if I could.
Yeah,
just to have fun. Yeah.
Yep.
And
so you've been doing a lot of that, or
no? Maybe a couple hours a week. So okay. It's a real shit guild to belong to. Can someone help group to get us? No, sorry, no.
It's not a raid party.
No, it's meant to be social, just fun. Talk about world building. Talk about whatever geek stuff. It's meant to, and I believe you can actually belong to multiple guilds in the game, which is kind of nice. If that's really true, I don't know because I know so little. This is how much help I'll be to you in the game. So come over and join the World Builders Anvil Guild and help us destroy all evil factions.
I know I've mentioned it before. I love Magic the Gathering. I've been playing Magic the Gathering since high school, so 25 years now, and we've recently started playing more. Like I'll play it for a few years, I'll stop for a few years, I'll play for a few years, I'll stop for a few years. So I'm in a play window, and my brother and my nephews are now. My brother has played, but my nephews are now playing, and one of my nephews is really good at the game. I mean, they're both very good for their age, but my youngest nephew is he really takes to it. He's really good. So what I'll do is maybe once every other week I would go over to my brother's house and we'll play. But with the COVID thing, I shouldn't be going over there, mostly because I'm driving around a lot. I am out in the public, so I am kind of a danger to be over there for them. So my wife was like, why don't you try doing it video? And I was like, I don't know. We thought about that, but I don't think it'll work well, blah, blah, blah. Well, we have ironed this system out pretty well. And she may have created a monster because now we play much more frequently than we used to. And we may not, I'm sure we will go back to face-to-face play. But if we want to play, I can just walk over to my computer and set up my camera and boom, we're playing remotely. So my brother and my nephew will sit down at their kitchen table, and even another friend, my friend Chris. So he'll be at his house and we're all playing remotely. It's a lot of fun. We've been doing a lot of that.
We've had one where you can play Cards Against Humanity online, but there's no video component. So one of our friends from this online called Dreamers and Builders basically started like a Google Hangout. And then if you join the Google Hangout, they sent you the link so you could start playing the Cards Against Humanity, but you could have the in-person portion of reading the cards and the suggested responses out, so you can still have that level of fun with Cards Against Humanity, even though I guess online you can't do that, at least not the way they play it. So
if you guys are not getting, I assume most of our listeners are a little more tech savvy than your average user, but if you guys are not taking advantage of this right now, more people are learning how to video conference or use things like Jeff and I use Zoom. That's what we record the show. That's how we, when we record the show, we're looking at each other through a Zoom meeting. So Zoom is great and free. So, video conference your family, video conference your friends or colleagues, coworkers, whoever. It really helps get some of that. It's obviously not exactly the same as being in person, but man, it's a very close second. It's a very close second.
I tell you, we even talked a while about releasing video online, but then we found out from a lawyer it's against the Geneva Convention to show my face online. So
well, they're not. It's showing your face in public is considered a war crime. So,
well, Geneva Convention. Actually, the irony was I just did a episode lead-in for my wife's 5th episode of her new podcast, Small Biz Mama. So if you have a wife who is interested in potentially starting a business from their house, or really any kind of business. My wife's a CPA. She's pretty good with all that kind of stuff. But we had to redo the beginning of one of the episodes, and I'm like, can I do it? And she's like, sure. So, and that's a video podcast if you watch it on Facebook or YouTube. Or ours, you just get an image because it's illegal actually to show me and Michael together in public.
Speaking of wives, my wife is right now we're planning on having my wife on this show very soon, which I think is incredibly special because we're here. We are more than 300 episodes deep, and Sarah has never been on the show. I think she said hello once or twice, like she was in the room and we had her say hello into the mic.
I think Kristen's done a guest host a couple times.
Kristen definitely has done 1 or 2 episodes. So I'm excited. We're not 100% sure what that topic's going to be yet. We're still ironing out the details, but you guys are
do whatever we say, though.
Yeah. and Sarah gets a lot of credit for me being on this show because
most definitely
Jeff invited me
200 some episodes. Yeah. It takes the wife support.
Well, not only that, but what I'm saying is like you invited me onto this show. One of your big reasons for doing so was because Sarah and I had our own show for about a year there. So
you love podcasting. Yeah,
I do. If Sarah hadn't agreed to do that show, I don't know if I would have done one by myself. I don't know that I would have reached out to anyone to do one with another partner, but that was a great experience and really springboarded, into this show. So,
which is a blast, especially when Mike keeps his mouth shut.
Yeah, shut
Mike,
up,
not Michael.
Oh no, I understand.
All right, so actually, we're trying a new one out. I believe tonight, playing a board game with someone, and I don't know if it's an online game. I have no idea yet. So
you don't know the game?
I don't even know the name of the game. But it's fun, and we actually did a mass video party. We have a group of entrepreneurs. We hang out with. We actually pay quite a bit of money to hang out with. And, it's kind of like a networking and a helping with marketing group, a mastermind. And but the person who's running it just like threw up a thing like, I don't know, a random Saturday night, like, hey, I'm gonna be on Zoom. If you guys just want to come hang out and like drink some wine and BS, just come on in,
Nice.
And so just a group of like-minded adults hanging out, just talking, a conversation, which that's kind of geek I am, where most of my friends became friends, not just from like similar activities, but at some point just sitting down and probably BSing over topics that, really weren't super relevant to the world.
Now, with so many
interesting.
With so many people in that, did they do it like where one person is running it and not everybody can talk at the same time?
No, it's kind of like this. People could just step on each other.
Just free for all. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, since it's a paid mastermind, the person who runs it, Julie Stoian, a brilliant individual, if you want to learn how to do marketing online. So she kind of just by default, people are listening to what she has to say. And she's been following the COVID stuff really more closely than humans should, unless you're like a epidemiologist. And so, so it was kind of a little bit talking about that. And then it was just really more of a chance for people to relax and to let loose a little bit. Actually, I built them a island because it came up in the thing, and I used Wonder Draft and I drafted out a tropical island, and that's like the new getaway for Digital Insiders. So, but yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. But yeah, no, video chats are a lot of fun. It's breaking the internet, but it's not our fault. Come on, ISPs, give us more bandwidth.
Right.
And finally, the last thing I've been doing is the Wheel of Time. It is a small series of books. Some people consider it a fantasy classic. It's one of the classic series of fantasy books in the fantasy genre. And I knew that they were getting ready to come out with a TV show about it. And I wasn't sure if I had read it. And I don't think I have, going back and reapproaching it. I finished book 1. I'm kind of approaching the final battle in book 2. And then I'm looking online going, how come there's like 300 books in this series if I'm approaching the final battle in book 2? Do you think that maybe it's not really the final battle?
Probably not.
A series called The Wheel of Time? Probably not. But I really enjoyed that. Robert Jordan did a terrific job of bringing his world alive. So a little actual fantasy reading, video chatting, little video games here and there, and some BS world building, not connected to projects, maybe in the future connected to projects, but I think I can do some quick maps in it, so it'll help me prototype the video game I've been screwing around with a little bit more too. So there we go.
Sarah and I have been, of course, watching a lot of television, as I'm sure a lot of you are as well. And we've been playing tabletop board games. But I think we're going to try for something different tonight. And I said to her earlier, I said, why don't we consider creating something? I'm like, I don't know what that means right now, but later tonight when we're ready to step into our evening, because she's working on schoolwork right now, let's maybe consider creating something instead of just sitting back and consuming media, because we've been doing an awful lot of that lately. So I don't know. Maybe we'll write something. Maybe we'll record something. That's actually a good idea. I'm having right here in this moment. So,
yeah, I know one of the ones we did was I think it was yesterday. Kristen was just sort of in a bad mood, and so she was kind of sniping. And then, of course, wives drive households. So Eric, they're in charge.
Wives drive households. That's what you said. Okay.
Yeah. And so, then sooner or later, it's like I get, start sniping, and Eric's getting a little sniping, and he's getting some of his 3-year-old molars at this point too, which is probably driving the snipiness between everyone. And then it was for my last birthday, I got a record player. So we actually busted out Queen's Greatest Hits and had a dance party.
Nice.
Yeah.
Great album.
He loves the Mama song. Mama song. Which actually one of Kristen's friends, Dana, who I think she went to school with in West Springfield, has recently got very popular, or he got like international notice for doing a parody of the Bohemian Rhapsody. And that became lit on internet fire. It's been in like Rolling Stone Germany, and it made all kinds of newspapers. Yeah.
What is it? Is it him just doing Bohemian Rhapsody, or is
he wrote it, and one of his friends, I don't know, one of his friends did the singing, but they redid it, and it's all about the COVID. So I think if you do like COVID Rhapsody, I think is what it's called.
I heard of this. I have not looked it up.
Look it up.
But
it's good.
I didn't realize Dana did this.
You don't know this Dana. This is
I don't. I was going to say.
This is someone my wife knew in West Springfield, who's a comedian out in Boston now, and
Gotcha.
And it just one of those things that I guess it just hit him when this was starting to get, built up, and he hit the right time, and it was irreverent, but in a way that it played into people using their brains too. So it was actually worked really well, I thought. I'll try to remember to link that in the show if I can. So.
Okay. All right. So let's hit the list. What else have we got here?
Yeah. Drive to Nowheres. So
actually, Sarah and I have been doing this.
You've been doing this one too?
Absolutely.
My wife and I think Michael and his wife have the same bug where on the weekends we like to go out and escape.
Yeah.
Just kind of pick a road and go down there, and maybe there's a destination down there somewhere, or maybe it's just to see what's on the road is usually the plan. And we usually eat somewhere in a town at a place we've never eaten before.
That's exactly what we do. Yeah.
And that's just not possible.
Yeah, that part of it is gone now.
Yeah. So we actually now the last a couple of days this week, we've just driven out, kind of loops around town, going back, verifying that the parks in our town are way too busy. We won't. My wife went through chemo, and she just had a baby, and that did a lot of damage to her as well. So we kind of just want to stay away, away from. We don't want to risk COVID.
Yeah.
Even though statistically we're screwed at some point. Unless they get a vaccine. It's like people are talking right now how we're approaching herd immunity. You're nuts if you're thinking that. I actually even saw a study, and I believe it, from Germany. They're doing these tests, and they're saying, hey, the numbers we're seeing as total cases are probably about 6% of the actual cases in the world, which mean several million people in the world have got it so far. Which is just nothing. That's you need about 90% of the population to have antibodies to become, to have herd immunity. And
so now what does that mean, herd immunity? Does that mean that people who have not built the antibodies themselves become immune based on
or however they get the antibodies? So whether it being through a vaccine or getting sick, essentially enough of the population has it so that if there are cases that pop up, there's enough immunity around the person who has it that it won't be dangerous, especially in a stable virus, which they think COVID is relatively stable. So even though it's based off of SARS, which I don't think there's a vaccine for, so that's kind of disturbing, at least at the point we're recording this. Hopefully, this will be proven wrong and we can open up next week, and I'll look really foolish here. But the math is bad, unchecked. It's like I was talking to someone about it. They're like, so far, there's only like 150,000 people who've got COVID, or maybe it's who died of COVID so far. And in a good flu year, it's like 300,000. I'm like, yes. In a good year, only 300,000 people will die from the flu, and we do nothing to stop it, except for maybe flu shots that might or might not be accurate. The problem being that
we're
locked down.
We're doing as much as we're doing as much as we can while still maintaining.
And we're halfway there in 4 months.
And we're halfway there in 4 months. Exactly.
Yeah. So it's worth being afraid of. I'm not a big believer that the U.S. government has the right to tell me what to do. I'm staying in my house to protect my family. So, and people will do what they have to do to protect their families in whatever circumstances they're in. If I was a soldier, I wouldn't be home right now, I'm sure. But video chat, we've done barbecue. We joined a meat service a local New England farmers co-op, essentially, for meat. And luckily, we started this right before
this all hit the
blew
fan.
Up, at least.
Yeah.
And it had nothing to do with that. It's just like we wanted more local stuff. So we're like, this can get delivered to our house. We have a deep freezer we haven't been using. We'll plug it back in, and we can store meat, and we'll buy meat once a month. But it's like all local grass-fed meat. Okay.
Nice.
And but it's like we got brisket. And so I barbecued up a brisket. And so, like, a barbecue is always a great way. It's a slow process, but, it's a way to slow everything down, but with purpose, too. So people have a thing they're moving and looking forward to at the end. And it was actually a very, very, probably the best quality brisket I've eaten, like meat quality wise.
Yeah.
I've been able to purchase in New England. So, and we've been doing Tai Chi, I think is how you say it.
Tai Chi or Tai Ching?
Tai Ching. It's like exercise stretching one, and it's supposed to be good for people who have chronic pain.
Yes.
So, and it's based, I think, off of Tai Chi, but it's exercise. It's a little bit more exercise minded. And the Beachbody people, my wife got a really low cost version of Beachbody. I can't do that stuff because my body physically, I have too much pain. I can't do any high impact activities.
Yeah.
But so I'm trying this out to see, because the more stretching I can do, the better I'll be, and the more impact activities I can do, which is ultimately important. Because if I sit around too much, I will get too fat and I will die. And I don't want to do that.
And that's an important thing to highlight. I definitely have not been very active lately, aside to work, which it takes a bit out of me. But it is totally true. The whole move it or lose it statement. Like, you guys got to keep moving. I know it's real easy. I mean, look, I'm not trying to be hypocritical, because I've certainly done a lot of watching TV and drinking a little more and eating junk food, because we're looking for a little piece of joy.
Stores still have Twinkies.
Right. Yeah. So, like, I know I'm not alone. I'm sure a lot of us have bought some ice cream when normally we don't buy ice cream, or bought some bottle of wine when we normally wouldn't buy a bottle of wine. It's all these little things. We're looking for that little bit of dopamine, right? We're looking for a little bit of relief from the tension and the anxiety of what we're dealing with. So don't always fall back on that. And, exercise is a huge way to get dopamine. It's really good for your body, and you want to keep moving, because, just like Jeff's saying, if we get sedentary,
that's right. And I'm a person, I have chronic pain. It's really easy when you have chronic pain to not want to move. And the problem is it feeds on itself.
Exactly. And it just makes it worse. Like I just before the show, I was laying down. I didn't, like I said, I was up late last night on the other show. So I didn't go to bed till like 2 or 3 in the morning, and I woke up at like 7. So I didn't get a lot of sleep. Yeah. And if I drink a few days in a row, or if I drink really heavily, and if I haven't been moving a whole heck of a lot, it affects my back. I feel it. So I didn't sleep well. I drank last night, and I laid down before the show to kind of take not really a nap, but just a rest. And I could feel it, like the nerve pinch down my leg and into my foot. And when I feel that, I'm like, that's a really bad sign that I'm starting to regress. And so I need to start stretching and moving every day.
Yeah. And I know, like, the worst thing is, like, the 2 main things I like to do, because I hate taking medicine for my knee. The problem is I won't do narcotics, which would probably ultimately be worse. Yeah. And I'm left with essentially anti-inflammatory drugs, which will destroy your stomach over time too, and your kidneys. So I will use Tylenol, which isn't great, but it'll let me sleep sometimes.
See, I won't use Tylenol, but I will use Advil.
Well, the problem is, over time, Advil will eat your stomach. It will eat your kidneys. There's evidence that the other stuff doesn't. They don't have the evidence to back it up there. So.
Yeah, but isn't Tylenol? Doesn't that have its own problems that it creates?
And nothing like that I know of.
Double check your research, because I know that a while back.
Mine's from talking with my healthcare professionals. So
fair enough.
I've just had way too much ibuprofen in my life, and ibuprofen's all the anti-inflammatory stuff. So, so I'll use lidocaine topical cream on my knees. which that is great. I take a bath in that crap when I'm sore, I swear. But yeah, but for me though, it's like, it's like my two main things to keep me in the ability to move constantly was a monthly massage, and
I cannot wait to get another massage
and going to the chiropractor, which it was starting at the part where I was feeling like I have like general, very low grade knee pain, and sometimes a twinge in my back, which for me is like pain -2.
Yeah.
And now I've not been to the chiropractor in a month and a half, and I'm starting to get that pain across my shoulder again. And
I was at the chiropractor today. So
your chiropractor's still open?
My chiropractor's still open until they tell him he can't be. He will be open.
See, I don't know if mine is. We canceled our appointments because I'm afraid.
You're afraid to
go. It's like they put so many people through. Every day. I just don't know. I just don't want to be around the people and get my wife sick. So,
well, we just wait outside until he's empty because my guy doesn't
outside anyway.
Because my guy doesn't. Yeah, my guy doesn't do appointments. You just show up. So when you show up, I just like, okay, there's nobody inside, so let's go inside. And then he sanitizes the table immediately after you get up. So in between every single person, he is sanitizing the table. So it's good stuff.
Yeah. And the way it should be. So
Shaw Family Chiropractic, they're fantastic. The guy changed my life. I was in such bad shape when I met him, and it literally changed my life for the better.
Especially for you. You can't afford to be put down by back pain,
Yeah.
You're carrying stuff. I mean there's more impactful jobs than being an electrician, but there's enough. You have to carry stuff. I mean,
well, the big thing is being up and down ladders. Like I spend a great deal of my career on ladders. So I need to be able to climb a ladder without, losing my balance, without having a twinge of pain that suddenly changes my positioning or makes me lurch forward or backward, anything like that. So this one might be obvious, but guys, pick up a book. If you haven't been reading,
Time series.
If you haven't
all
been
300
of them. So
I believe there's only 22, but still, that's one hell of a lot
of series. Big. I mean, Ender's Game is a huge series. So is Dune. All of these are really big, long series. But also, don't be intimidated by a big, long series. You don't have to read them all. If something's really awesome,
once you lose your enjoyment.
For instance, yeah, exactly. Ender's Game is the one that I always go back to. I love Ender's Game. I love Ender's Shadow. I have tried to read Speaker for the Dead multiple times and couldn't get into it. So, if it's sometimes I look at a fiction, whether it's a movie or a book, as a challenge. Like everyone says this is awesome. I'm not enjoying it, but I really want to finish it to see if there's something there for me. And we've had this discussion before. The one that comes to mind for me is Spider Robinson's Mind Killer. One of the greatest science fiction books ever written. If you ask me, I think that book is absolutely genius, but it is a very slow burn for the first like 50, 70 pages. Like I had a hard time with it. I was like, where are they going here? Like I'm not interested in what's occurring, but man, once it starts to get there and the twist that's very late in the book is one of the most rewarding story twists. And
you need the burn for it to work.
And you have to burn slow to get there. It's such a good story.
It's like all my libertarian friends always say Atlas Shrugged, Atlas Shrugged. And I've struggled to get past like the first 80. I just can't.
Yeah.
And I kind of know the story, and I'll probably try that one here again, maybe after I finish book 2 of
Wheel of Time.
Wheel of Time.
Yeah.
Which I do know is coming out on the series on Amazon, and they were actually in production until a month or 2 ago.
The basic point is though, like if you are struggling with something, you don't have to get through it. You can just move on and jump into something else. And other things, maybe you should try to struggle through it. I guess it depends on what you intend to get out of it, and or how critically acclaimed is. Like some things I just read because it's like all my friends read it and they said it's awesome. So I'll read that. Yeah.
That's why you watch certain anime, which end up disappointing you because all your friends do it, and they, you'll love this. This is so you, and you're watching the whole thing. I don't see why anyone would think I like this crap.
Yeah, there is. I think we talked about this once before. Jeff and I have friends really good friends that are the biggest anime fans. Like Jeff and I love anime. I love anime.
Nothing against it. Yeah.
Yeah. But
some of it I love. Yeah.
But they are so into it, and they know when you get so into a thing, you get to the point where you're looking at really, really minute things. You know what I mean? You pick up on little details that your average viewer or reader or consumer wouldn't get to, because you become an aficionado, and they are definitely aficionados on this. And they recommended something to me, and I was like so excited by what they described, and then I watched it and I was like, yeah, this isn't for me.
I'm not seeing it. Yeah.
I'm not seeing it. Like there was a specific scene they were talking about that they loved, and it was a good scene, but it didn't do a ton for me. So to each their own.
To each their own. And that's it. It's like me saying, Michael, I just got this new icon set for mountains. You have to check these out. You'd love these mountains.
These mountains are so great. You got to check out this mapping software. You can spend 6 hours situating your grid, just the grid. That's before you even get to topography. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Jeff, throw me a rope.
That's why I like Wonderdraft. Cause like, if you want to get to a world, you can actually generate the land, and then you just kind of can play stuff, or you could just build off of it if you want to. That's the way I'd probably build a world now if I did, is I'd just kind of generate land and go, okay, what do I want where? And then start coming up with the stuff from it instead of trying to work backwards to the world topography.
Now, you have another piece of software written down here too. What is ESO?
That's Elder Scrolls Online.
Oh, that's Elder Scrolls Online. Fair enough. I thought it was another world building piece of software, because you have a couple of world building pieces of software there. Well, all right. So guys, get your family on the video stream, do a dance party, play some, Cards Against Humanity on your video stream. I recommend Magic the Gathering. That's my card game of choice, but I do own Cards Against Humanity. Big fan. Yeah. And, try to relax. Try to remind yourself that this too shall pass. And obviously keep yourself safe, do the precautions you need to make sure that we're all going to get through this together. Yeah. And we want you to come out the other side of this, as low stress as possible, because even after everything is over, the difficulty of this is not going to be done with. Even if they say, oh, guess what? We just figured out that COVID can be eradicated if we all just put our thumbs up in the air, like boom, thumbs up, and now COVID's all gone. Well, we're still going to have to deal with all the economic repercussions, all the sociological repercussions too, because this is really changing our society and how we approach people in public. So
most definitely.
All right. Do we have a world builder task?
Yes. The world building task is family game night. Play a game with your family. And if you could pull it off,
could that game be hide? Could that game be hide the remote?
I don't know what you mean by that, sir. That's offensive. Yes, if you want it to be, it could be something you make up. It doesn't have to be a real game. I remember years ago when I was starting to get older and my chronic pain was starting to rear its ugly head. I still had a bunch of nephews and nieces who were young, and I was
to climb on
uncle,
you,
and they want to climb and wrestle and fight. And the boys are starting to get old enough where I had to sometimes actually apply strength to protect myself.
Yes,
and so I developed a game called Zombie Butt Whackers, and the idea was I was a zombie and I walked around with one of those noodles for a pool
noodle, yeah,
and just and I would whap them, and if I hit them, they would become a zombie. And you couldn't run as a zombie. But the great thing is when you have kids who are like 6 and 8, they can't help but get close to you. So it gave me a perfect excuse to not move fast. I could play with them. They would be running around, and I would just, when they got close, I'd swing it and I'd smack them on the butt. And if I did, they became a zombie too. And we'd overthrow the yard and kill off all of humanity. Because that's what you want to teach your nephews and nieces.
How to overthrow the world.
With zombies.
With zombies. Go back a second. There was something you said in it that reminded me of something I wanted to add to. Is before the what was it? I don't know. Lost my train of thought. I hate that. Keep going. All right. So what about a real world task?
Okay. Share your relaxation tips with at least one other person, right?
That is a great one.
You've done something new because you've had more time at home. Maybe you've invested in a pair of earbuds to come home because you just want to hear the family anymore or whatever. But share your relaxation techniques.
I actually have another really great suggestion for eating some of the excess time you may have. Develop a new skill, like become a better cook, maybe start picking up a second language, third language, fourth language, or, improve yourself, work on yourself.
Yes. If you want to learn how to clean, watch The Fly Lady. It's all I need to say.
The Fly Lady?
Yes.
Oh no, I know what this is what you just reminded me of, talking about your nephews. There is a video
the Fly Lady?
No. My brain came back around to the thought.
Okay.
Somebody had posted this in one of my feeds, where this father, he does like a dinosaur. He does like a dinosaur impression, but what he does is whenever one of his kids says "dadasaur," he goes into this dinosaur impression and he fully commits. It's very funny, but they usually ask him to do it at the most inopportune times, and it irritates his wife. So there's all these videos of him doing it, and they are hilarious.
Very good.
So maybe do something like that with your family.
Come up with your own games. That's right.
Come up with a fun thing that's inclusive. You don't
need to spend a lot of money.
Exactly.
It's your imagination. Yep. If you want a cheap framework, I'll try and put a link to my friend's
descriptors,
PDF of descriptors. That's correct.
Yeah,
actually, I think I might be in the forward of that, unless they got the text and cut me out. I don't know. I might actually be in the forward of that one too, because it's a show that Michael and I had fun with. It's a fun, simple system, especially if you want to play with people, like RPG style games. But if they're not dice people, which I am, me and Michael, we love dice. Everyone isn't like that.
I literally have a pile of dice in front of me on my desk right now.
But
that reminds me of
language is a great combination.
There's another a great thing called story dice. I have story dice, so it's a little bag of dice. I think it was less than $10, so I'm sure you can order this online, and it's all of the dice or a bunch of 6-sided die in the bag, and all of them, every side has a different picture, little icon, pictogram on it. And what you do is you pull 3 dice out and you roll them, and you create a story that hits every picture that on the dice that show up. And my wife and I,
training too.
That's exactly right. And my wife and I have had a lot of fun doing that too. It's been a little while since we played it. Maybe we'll do that tonight.
All right. Well, we hope you all have a great relaxing week, and we will see you next week. Thank you so much for listening to the World Builders Anvil.
We would love it if you would share the World Builders Anvil with 2 of your friends.
And so would them.
If they are unfamiliar with podcasts, then you get to introduce them to the wonderful world of podcasting.
Take them to Stitcher or iTunes, or best of all, just send them to our website, www.gardul.com.
That's GARDUL.com.
Now strike while the mithril's hot.